We're all intuitive because at its base level, intuition is a survival tool. Gut instinct will keep you alive. It's good, bad, right, wrong, yes, no, safe, unsafe. Something's not correct here. At the very basis of that, that's a survival intuition. But at its most evolved, intuition is an evolutionary process. It's an innovation process. It's an enlightenment tool. So it can keep you alive in your skin suit. What I call our biology is our skin suit. It keeps you alive in the skin suit. And it also taps you into higher levels of soul, wisdom, and, universal consciousness and all the other things. So when we learn to speak the language at its fundamental basics, it keeps you alive. At its most exalted, it enlightens you.
This show is all about helping you up-level your life, including your well-being, your relationships, your mental health, your wealth, your confidence, and your joy. I challenge you to keep an open mind as together we discover tips, tools, and advice from the experts to help you live life to your fullest potential. Welcome to the Jenna Banks Show.
Simone, thank you so much for joining me today. I am really looking forward to this conversation about intuition. But before we get into it, I just want to let everyone know a little bit about you and your background. Simone Wright is an internationally respected authority on intuition, evolutionary creativity, and entrepreneurship. She developed her own intuition street cred by using her skills to successfully assist law enforcement in missing children's cases and other criminal investigations. Her groundbreaking intuition training program and book, titled First Intelligence, has helped people from all walks of life, including established and emerging entrepreneurs, multi-million-dollar CEOs, and every level in between. She helped them develop profound intuitive clarity and vision to help them expand their businesses in ways that are in alignment with the individual, not the crowd. She helps people set the trends in their life and in business, not follow them. I love that intro for you so much, Simone. Thank you for deciding to, absolutely. Thank you for being here to have this conversation about intuition. You and I were just talking a little bit earlier before we hit the record button about how, back when you first wrote your book 10 years ago, that it was something kind of groundbreaking and new at the time and wasn't really widely discussed. Can you maybe tell us a little bit more about that, like what that journey has been like for you when you started writing about it to where you see it is today and why you feel so compelled to do this work?
Well, thanks, Jenna. Thanks for having me, and hi, everybody. Well, First Intelligence is celebrating its 10-year anniversary of being published. And when it came out in 2014, there were a lot of books on intuition out there. There are a lot of great books on intuition out there. But I had never seen intuition approached from the science basis of it. It was always approached quite from the spiritual, etheric, no disrespect, but what I tend to call the fluffier side of things. And the reason that I even wrote the book was that I had done a fair bit of work with law enforcement in missing children's cases and working on cold case files. And the thing that really got my street cred was that I had been invited to do some intuition work on a triple homicide case. Okay. And a friend of mine who knew of my intuitive skill set called me out of the blue one day and said, "Look, I'm going to pick you up 10 minutes. I want to take you to a scene." And that's all the information he gave me. And he dropped me off, and 10 minutes later he picked me up, and I gave him a bunch of detail that people would call holdback. Information that only the law enforcement knew and only the people involved with the case knew. Long story short, ultimately, I gave them information that secured 3 life sentences.
Wow.
Yeah. And in the moment when I was giving him the information, my police officer friend said, "Would you be interested in doing this for us full time?" And I said, no. But before I could stop it, what came out of my mouth was, "But what if I could teach you guys how to do what I do?" And he said, "You can do that?" And I said, "Well, of course, I can teach anybody to do this because we all have the skill." And he said, "Well, okay, show us how you do that, and I'll take it to my people." So 9 months later, through that course of time, I reverse engineered the process. How am I doing what I'm doing? What's going on in my system biologically? What's going on energetically? Where am I feeling it? Head, heart, gut. How am I interacting with the field? How is the information showing up? What's happening when I'm accurate? What's happening when I'm not accurate? And so I really sat with the process and reverse engineered it, because I knew that if I was going to teach it to people like police officers, I couldn't go in there waving crystals around. And you also, when you do gather that information, you have to be able to validate it so that you can take it to court. So you can't just go, well, I had a gut feeling that la la la, and take that into court. You can't do that. So I had to really tangify, if that's a word, what was going on scientifically, what was going on biologically, what was going on energetically, put it into a formula, and then take that to the cops and then teach them how to do that. And so when I was doing that and I was discovering the science and what the interactions were with the quantum field, everybody's talking about quantum now. Very few people were talking about quantum 10 years ago.
Wow.
So I got a lot of grief for some of the quantum approaches about being able to gather unseen information from the quantum field or remembering the future. And so book critics were like, it's a bunch of hooey. People who read the book who hadn't obviously, with Miss Joe Dispenza now and others like him talking about the quantum, everybody is more familiar with it. So now people are more willing to go, oh, now I see what she's talking about. And so I took it on the chin a little bit at first. And now it's just like, I'm so over. If you don't believe it, you don't believe it. But I know everybody's got it. And so let's just get over this and get to work kind of thing.
Well, now we're in this new era, it would seem, where, okay, now people are open to discussion of it. Not only that, we understand a lot more about quantum physics, quantum mechanics, and the quantum field. And you're absolutely right. Folks like Joe Dispenza have popularized it, and many others, of course, Deepak Chopra. And I read all that, and I love all that. So, yeah, now when you say quantum field, it's much more accepted. So yeah. So, okay, now you've got me super curious, because it's like, I know a lot about intuition only because I've learned to follow my own intuition from a very early age. And I write about that in my book, but I've never related it to quantum field. And, I don't know any of the science behind it. I've never spent the time to really break down what intuition feels like, the senses, all the things that you broke it down to scientifically. But for me, it's sometimes it's like it's just an inner knowing, or like an inner voice, usually pretty subtle, but the feeling is strong. I had a moment actually in time, the strongest moment of intuition and the strangest one that I got is when my son had just turned 21, and he was going to Coachella, which is a music festival out in the desert of California. And he was excited. I was excited. I had actually got him the tickets as a birthday gift. He was going with somebody I knew, their 30-year-old daughter, so I knew he'd be well taken care of and looked out for. And I got the strangest intuition, I want to say like a day or two before they left. And it was so strange. It was just like a vision almost. That was the strongest one I'd ever gotten, where I just saw aliens. It was everything's alien. There's something tragic going to happen at Coachella with your son. You need to warn him. You need to look out for him. And so I called up this person who was going with him, and I said, hey, I just had the strangest intuition, but I really need you to make sure that you don't let him out of your sight. Like, don't let him wander off with strangers, please. I know he's an adult, but I just would feel more comfortable if you would just look out for him the whole time. Well, what happens, he's on his way back from Coachella, and I get a call from him, and he's in the car, he's the passenger, and he does not make any sense. He's rambling incoherently. It sounded like some other person. And I got the sense that something was very wrong, and I had hoped that it was just drugs, which is terrible to say as a mother, but is like, well, okay, these things happen. Hopefully he'll come down and we'll deal with it after, and we'll have the conversation. He never came down. Well, I mean, he did at some point, but it took a long time. He actually went to psychosis and was permanently mentally changed after that. It did feel like I was dealing with an alien. And I mean, it felt like an alien was now in the family for a long time until we figured out what was going on and got him medicated. And thankfully he slowly came back and is stabilized now. And this is many, many years ago. But that intuition came through so strongly, Simone. And I just knew it. I knew something was going to happen, but what do you even do during that time? The ticket was $500. He really wanted to go. Was I just going to say, I have this really strong hunch, but, and then would that have changed anything? And why did I get that information?
Yeah.
So many questions. Yeah. Because it didn't really help me in any way.
Well, but it did, because it showed you that you have that awareness and that it's active. Now, listen, so many of us have had intuitive nudges, intuitive hits, and some of us have listened to them. And here's the irony. Oftentimes when you follow an intuition and you avoid a problem, you don't know that your intuition has worked because you've avoided the problem. There's not been a problem, right? So that's why I don't even know if my intuition is working. And then in a case like with you and your son, you got what we would call that's a precog. That's a precognitive awareness. You're seeing something before it happens. It's a precognition, not a recognition. It's not a memory. You're remembering the future. That's a precog. This is where I got into trouble with people. You can't remember the future. Well, if everything is happening in the quantum field now, you got a resonant impression of it. And because you couldn't really identify it, it would sort of show up as an alien feeling because you can't really label it. And so your intuition is translating that information into imagery that you can recognize. And it generates these feelings of knowing. This is why I call it first intelligence, because it's a knowing, it's an intelligence that we have before we know what we know or can know. It's right. It's the first intelligence. It's a wisdom that we have before we've learned anything, discovered anything, been taught anything, been conditioned in any way. So when you were sensing that about your son, and then it came true, so to speak, the service that was for you was, hey, Jenna, you've got this superpower, and it's not to be trifled with. Some people would look at that and go, oh, that's just her mother's intuition. She's being emotional. It can't be trusted. This is one of the most potent misconceptions about intuition out there, especially for men, because they think intuition is strictly a feminine, i.e. mother thing. And because it's rooted, and they say, and it's emotional. But you said it wasn't an emotional thing. It was just a knowing. So intuition in its knowing is, because it comes from a level of wisdom that is beyond thought, beyond time, beyond conditioning, is neutral. There is no emotional charge in the initial intuitive information. Where the charge comes is when the logical, rational, emotional mind goes, holy crap, what do I do about that? Then the emotion comes in. But
interesting.
And that gap can be very small. So you got the intuitive hit. It was neutral. The information came, the vision came, you saw it. And then your emotion came in behind it, right? In concern for your son, you know, the emotion came behind it, but the information initially was neutral.
It was totally neutral. It was just information, and I knew it meant something. That's why I acted on it and
Yeah.
called this person. But again, I just didn't. It's like I was so confused. Like it was such a strong
Mm-hmm.
knowing,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like, well, what do I do? Like,
Yeah.
what do I do? So I think you're right. That's great that you mentioned that it's a sign for me that I have this ability.
Mm-hmm.
And do most of us have this
We
ability?
all have it. Here's the thing. Again, another misconception about intuition. People think it's some sort of voodoo woo-woo spiritual gift that some people have and others don't. It's not. It's rooted in our biology. If you're a human with biology, you are intuitive, because think of all of those 100 trillion cells in your body. They're communicating through energy fields. They're not talking language. They're not having thought. They know what hormones to create based on energy in the field, based on the environment. So biologically, we are all intuitive. There's no little brains in all of those little cells. It's all energetic conversation. So it's not a thought process. It's an energetic one, right?
Yeah.
So we're all intuitive. And when I went back up to Canada to teach the cops the first intelligence program, I thought, okay, I've got to be able to break the ice in a big way here, because again, these aren't spiritual people. So I walked into the room and I said, okay, look, how many of you guys and gals, I had 22 detectives with over 500 years of training experience under their belts. And I said, how many of you have been in the field? You go out to do your job and you just know that something's not right, something's not true, or something's just not copacetic. And every hand in the room went up. I said, okay, look around the room. You've all felt it. And they're like, yeah. I said, okay, that's intuition. So this isn't hooey. You've all got it. Now what we're going to do is we're going to recognize what's going on. We're going to learn how to understand the language that it speaks, because it is a language and it's a subtle one. And then we're going to learn how to direct it at will. I said, does that sound good to you? And they all kind of nodded. And I said, so let's just clear the decks right now in that we're all in agreement that something intuitively is going on within you. If I have that agreement with you, then this will be fun for all of us. And they're like, okay. So we're all intuitive, because at its base level, intuition is a survival tool. Gut instinct will keep you alive. So part of what you were sensing there with your son was an intuitive at that level was survival. There's a survival issue at stake here. Something is
That's
very
right.
dangerous here. So that would have come sort of at a gut level. It's good, bad, right, wrong, yes, no, safe, unsafe. Something's not correct here. And even though you might have gotten some imagery, there was no vision. It wasn't an awareness. There wasn't an intellect behind it. It was just something's
Right.
not right. So
That's right.
at the very basis of that, that's a survival intuition. But at its most evolved, intuition is an evolutionary process. It's an innovation process. It's an enlightenment tool. So it can keep you alive in your skin suit. What I call our biology is our skin suit. It keeps you alive in the skin suit. And it also taps you into higher levels of soul, wisdom, and, universal consciousness and all the other things. So when we learn to speak the language at its fundamental basics, it keeps you alive. At its most exalted, it enlightens you. So
is this all coming from us, or is this sometimes coming from the quantum field, or outside of us, or outside of our higher selves?
well, my understanding and my experience of it is the quantum field is not separate from us. It's not
Right.
some place we go. It's a thing that we are, to use the analogy, we're literally swimming in information, right? It's surrounding us. And at our most profound level, people will say, well, I need my intuition to go into the field and find me something. Well, that's not accurate. what's so important about our intuition is that we give it accurate directions. Think of it like the GPS in your car. If I was to drive from Los Angeles to San Francisco and I plugged in a New York address, the chances of me getting to San Francisco following those directions would be pretty impossible. So we have to be sure our information, our positioning is precise. So the precision of the separation between us and the quantum, it's not accurate. We're swimming in it. It's all of the information we want and need. And this is again where I got a lot of grief when First Intelligence came out 10 years ago. All of the information that you need and require is here right now. You're surrounded by it. And just like the GPS in your car, if you give your intuition a very potent target, the more potent and clear and precise the target, the more accurate your intuition can guide you. It will start to scan the information in the field, although it's not really going anywhere. But it'll start to beep, 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 just like the GPS in your car, and will start to give you direction. So you're never separate from the information you need.
Okay, so I'm going to give another example just to help me kind of comprehend this more. And I guess that's the best way, since these are moments in my life when I had strong intuition. So there was another one that happened, I want to say within a couple of years before that incident with my son, couple of years, something like that. And I was at my job and I got a very strong intuition that I needed to leave. It felt like a very negative, heavy energy in the air. And it seemed targeted at me, like it was directed at me. And I didn't know what that meant, but I knew that I had to leave. Like I knew I wasn't safe there. And now that you're saying this survival thing, or the negative, that was a strong no, negative, get out. And so I followed it. Now I'd obviously come to know and trust my intuition 100%, because in leaving, I literally left, didn't tell my boss until I was in my car, called my boss and said, hey, I've left the building and I'm not coming back right now. I have a very strong intuition that something's going to happen to me in particular. And I have a feeling it's related around this one employee who was working there temporarily. But there was something strange that I had discovered during her pre-screening. People had, it was a little odd, and I was a little bit like, it's strange, but I just left it in the back of my mind. Mm-hmm. And then I had a feeling, okay, something's going down, her contract's going to expire. Maybe something's going to come at me. I don't know, but I just don't trust it. And I feel like it's related to her. Mm-hmm. So I call my boss and he says, you've got to get back here, right? You can't just leave. And I said, well, I can do what I need to do from home. I can log in remotely, and I would appreciate it if you had my back on this, but if you don't, I'm going to do it anyways. Mm-hmm. I just trust myself. And so I knew I was going to be in trouble. And sure enough, I stayed gone until she was gone. And then I go back a couple of days later. And at that point, I realized that I had actually decided, you know what, I don't need to be working at this place anymore. Mm-hmm. They're not supporting me. I've been here a long time. I've given a lot of years of my life here. And this is not the kind of support. At this point, they should trust me. And I know it sounds strange, but intuition isn't always logical. Yep. And so anyways, so I ended up, bringing in my 2-week my resignation, handed it in. Come to find out, a couple of days later, sure enough, the information came to light. She had told somebody else that worked there that she was going to be taking down couple of bitches with her when she goes down. And so I was dead on. Mm-hmm. I knew at the time. Now, what it would probably be more of some type of, creating havoc for me at work or something mm-hmm. like that. But you know what? I wrote about this in my book. I said it was a sign for me that it was time to go. Yes. That was a kick out the door from the universe saying, hey, if you don't leave, we're going to make it very difficult for you and shove you out the door. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I knew it. And I'm so glad that I left when I did, because I ended up starting my own company. Mm-hmm. And created a life for myself that I couldn't have imagined before that. And that would not have been possible there. So, so that was another instance where had the strong intuition, trusted it 100%. It didn't make any logical sense, but I knew it. I felt it. I knew it. And went for it. And I wrote about that because I wanted to let people know sometimes it just doesn't make logical sense, but it's you've got to trust it if you get something really strong, I feel like. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. Well, so to map that experience, yes, it was a survival instinct, but it was also an evolutionary impulse, right? So our intuition will speak to us through, like I said, it speaks to us through every cell in our body. And it uses the gut, it uses the heart, it uses the brain, and it uses the energetic field. And it also uses our skin. We get goose pimples and the hair stands up. So this is a little bit of the biology. Here's the sciencey part. When we're little embryos in our mom's tummy and the cells are starting to form our body, there's a group of cells called the neural crest. And as it's forming, it will split into two things. One of it will go into the nervous system to create the spinal cord and the brain and everything else. And then those same cells will go over here and they'll start to form the skin. So essentially, we are covered in brain. Our skin cells are a divergent of the entire nervous system that ultimately becomes the brain. So we are covered in brain. So if you ever get an intuitive thing, or you hear something, or you're having a conversation with somebody in your skin, you get the goose pimples. You're like, oh, you've probably had these kind of conversations with all of your guests. You're like, oh my God, the goose pimples. That's because your skin as brain is recognizing truth.
Wow, that's so cool.
Even now I'm getting goose pimples.
I am too. Right? That's so cool.
So people wonder, like, why is that happening? It's because your skin is coated with brain. And so every cell is interpreting that in that environment. So for you in that case, it was survival, but it was also evolution because the impulse booted you out. That level of being, of creating in the world. And it said, this isn't yours anymore. You won't thrive here. And survival might even be a little risky, but you're not going to thrive here. So ping, we're going to give you the boot. But intuitively, you knew it was time to go. So it was serving the evolutionary impulse. And you kind of felt it in your whole being.
Oh, I felt it. I felt it like it was like a heavy negative energy. It was like a weight just pushing on my body. It was so weird, but it was so clear. Get out now. That was survival. Had I stayed, I feel like it would have wreaked havoc on me energetically. Havoc.
And a lot of people won't listen to that because there is no logical backup to it. And if you had gone to somebody and said, I'm seriously thinking of quitting my job, and they'd be like, well, do you have anything else lined up? And you're like, no. My intuition is just telling me it's time to go. Well, you're bananas. Like, you need to get everything else lined up. It's like, no.
Totally.
So to live an intuitive life, I say this is not for sissies, because you have to be able to trust the feeling, how it's shaping, how it's using your biology to give you guidance. And then to be like, I have to trust this. And the more you trust it, without logical backup, then the more fluent you become in it. And you start to recognize if you get an intuitive hit and you don't follow it, you're going to pay a price for it.
That's right. It always that's what happened to me before. And I paid attention because my mind is more like yours, more scientific. I want to get to the science of things. So for me, patterns are kind of my research, and I would notice if I don't listen to it, then I regret it.
Yes.
So
yes.
Yeah.
And so the more fluent you become, and the truth of the matter is sometimes you need to fail. I always say this is why I like to say to people, look forward to the times when you fall on your face in the mud, when you don't listen to it, because that's just as potent a learning, just as potent a teaching tool as it is if you follow it and you reach some sort of success. So, because you need to know what works and you need to know what doesn't. You need to know how it feels when you hear it and you don't follow it, what the consequences of that. So you're like, this is what happened when I didn't listen. Remember that, embody it, remember how it felt, so that the next time it shows up, that feeling, sensing, that you go, I remember this. How do I remember this? Because I remember when I fell on my face and it all blew up in my face when I didn't listen to it. So I'm not going to do that again. So it sets you up for then what you will do moving forward. So those times when we've heard it and ignored it and paid a price are very valuable.
Mm-hmm.
Because
yeah.
I can ask anybody and say, have you ever gotten an intuitive hit? Yeah. Have you ignored it? Yeah. What was the price you paid? Well, blah, blah, blah. And I said, so then what did it feel like when you got the intuitive hit in the first place? And most people can describe it to a T.
Wow.
And I'm like, okay, then you know when you're getting your intuitive guidance. Now your job is to follow it.
That's the key, right? Is follow it.
Yeah.
And that, like I said, there have been moments like that story I just talked about where it's risky. But at the same time, when you can trust it 100% and you go with it, you just have to trust it. Because there are risks, I feel like, in those situations. What if you need the money and you can't afford to be without a job? You don't have anything lined up. What then?
Yeah.
Yeah. But
well, and this is a really great segue for us to talk about how we can set up really strong intuitive targets. Because let's say in an example like yours, where you were leaving a job,
mm-hmm.
and you're like, oh man, intuitively I'm being guided that I just know it's time to go. I just know it's time to go, but I don't have any money, or I don't have any job lined up, or I don't, what am I going to do with my time? So how, when I'm working with law enforcement to find a missing kid, for example, my target is the kid is home. The kid is home, right? In real life, the child is missing, but in my awareness, the child is home. That's my target. The target is the kid is home. Now, in some cases, the kid is fine and dandy and has just wandered off or whatever. But in other cases, there's, some pretty shady elements going on. And I have no control over those things. And I also have to let go of my judgment of any of those things. The target is the kid is home. I don't care what the circumstances are. It's just the kid is home. And then I say to my intuitive mind, show me the kid. And then images, pictures, sounds, bodily sensations will flow. That's the information I give to law enforcement. And then they go do their job. So the target is the kid is home. Show me the kid. Letting go of any judgment about the scenario or the circumstance. So in a case like when you're leaving a job because intuitively you just know it's time to go, and you go, okay, I need to set a really potent target so that my intuition can help me find the next cool thing, right? So I build targets in 3s.
Okay.
Because it's different with a kid, because it's one target, the kid is home. But when we're working entrepreneurially or we're working for ourselves, having a strong triad is very potent.
Okay.
Just like the GPS in your car. When the GPS is leading you from LA to San Francisco, it's triangulating, 3 points. It's triangulating you in space to help you give the best direction. It's using satellites, it's using multiple satellites, it's using the car, it's using multiple targets to give you the best direction. But you didn't know that, science nerd. And so it's the same with us with our intuition. So if we're going to establish targets, what I like to say is we need to establish a time target. The time is 1. Idea target is number 2. And a money target is number 3. So you've got a triad of time, ideas, and money. Most people are only focusing on 1. I want to write a book. Okay, there's an idea. That's a target, but it's a wimpy one. If you want to write a book and you say, okay, I want to write a book and I want to have it out in 3 months. Okay, there's a time. Now you've added a time target. Then you want to establish a money target, and you say, ultimately, I'd love for this book to help me create $1 million. Just throwing out random numbers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Time, idea, money. And so you go through that triad and you start to just sort of brainstorm, what are the ideas that I have? What would I like to do? What am I thinking about doing? And that might be blank. You're like, I have no clue. Okay. But so if you don't have any clue, then you can go to the money target. You can be like, $1 million in a year. So you've got your time and your money target. You're working together, $1 million in a year. And somebody might say to you, that's impossible. $1 million a year now is a piece of cake for people with technology and everything that's going on. But what will happen is if you get really specific about those sort of targets, $1 million within a year, and you ponder that, then ideas will start to show up that will link you to that $1 million within the year. And so it'll start to shape a circuit. Are you with me? I hope I haven't.
Yeah.
Right? So most people are only playing with one of those things. If you can use at least two, the third one will come in on its own intuitively, and then you'll have a triad. And when you've got the triad of time, ideas, and money, then you're triangulated. You then become a walking antenna. And you go into the world, into the quantum. I don't like to use cliche words, but you would be resonating or vibrating in that triad. And then you'd be able to intuitively sense, perceive information in the field that would then help you close the gap.
I love that. It's almost like taking this law of attraction idea, but looking at it in a different way, because you are, you talked about vibrating or whatever, but what it is it's not like you're manifesting something.
No.
You are more attuned to the opportunities or circumstances or ideas or whatever that will align with this triangle.
So again, to go back to our idea of precise language, there's also another triad that helps you get really good at your intuition. It's rooted in peace, precision, and perception. Peace, precision, perception. You have to be able to start this intuitive conversation on the foundation of peace, because if you're stressed out, freaked out, scared, it's going to be so much static on the line that any kind of information you get, you're not going to be able to interpret it correctly.
Good point. Yeah.
Peace. You have to be rooted in peace. That's where I start everybody. Then the second P of that is precision, accurate targeting, right? A precision of language, a precision of target, a precision of focus. Then the third P of that is perception. So I do not espouse to the law of attraction, because that would assume then that if you're wanting to attract something, then that means you are lacking it. You cannot create or perceive something that you inherently believe you lack. But if you are in that alignment, you've got peace at the foundation, then you've got your strong precision of a target, then what will happen is you will start to perceive stuff in the field. It's always there. The people that you need, the money that you need, the ideas that you need, the partnerships that you need, it's always there in the field, but you're not perceiving it. So the third,
so interesting. Wow.
Perception. So we've heard the story, right? And people do call it the law of attraction. Think about a blue Porsche. Think about a blue Porsche. You know that now you're going to see blue Porsches everywhere. That's not the law of attraction. That's the rule of perception.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Right? Language shapes perception. What do I see in the world? What do I see in the environment? Energy shapes perception. Peace shapes perception. It's what we're perceiving. So when you had the vision with your son and you saw aliens, that's a perception of, that's your biological computer interpreting foreign energy and then perceiving it, creating a picture of it that looks alien. So that was a perception through your biology of a frequency in the field that then your body interpreted and gave it the alien label. And then when your son showed up and he was distorted, you're like, ah, that's what I was perceiving. And then my body created a picture that looked like an alien or felt alien somehow. Right? So it's about perception. So I always say my clients are like my athletes. I consider myself a metaphysical fitness coach. All of my clients are athletes. You've got to be able to train this muscle to be a perceiver, not an attractor.
I love this reframe so much. Yeah. You know, some other texts I've read recently on this, and I believe it comes from Joe Dispenza and at least another person I've read it from recently, where, yeah, it's not attracting, it's just, it's you can't attract what you aren't. So it's being, who you are is what you attract.
Yes.
So wherever yeah.
Who you are is what you perceive. So if you're out in the world and you're like, gosh, everybody's just a big poo-poo head. Well, the only reason that you're able to perceive poo-poo heads is because you've got some poo-poo head energy in you.
So interesting.
Right?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
So that's why this idea of strong targeting is so important. So to go back to the idea of me working with law enforcement, if I'm trying to find a missing kid, if I set the target, the kid is home, then my perception, and because my muscle intuitively is trained, that the second I give it that target, it starts to scan. And so the kid is home, the kid is home, the kid is home. Then my biological antenna will start to perceive the information. It's a perception. But if I go into that assignment trying to attract the kid, in my mind, I'm saying the kid is lost. The kid is lost. The kid is lost. I need to attract the kid. The kid is lost. The kid is lost. The intuitive mind will only work on the information that you give it at these higher levels. Right?
Interesting.
So people could nitpick and say, well, this is the law of attraction. Sure. But at this level, you're being so precise about it. It's like an archer hitting a bullseye in a target. You know that target's there. So you're not trying to attract it. In your mind, it's done. It's a hit. It's a done deal, right? And then you're allowing your biological computer to help you perceive what is in alignment with that target.
I love that. No, you've said it so well, so concisely. This is like blowing my mind. I love it. It's a lot to contemplate. So like in the case with this kid, for example, you're picturing the kid at home, but this is a missing child. How in that circumstance will that then bring to light information about how to help detectives, for example, locate the child?
So I'm not even picturing the kid is home. It's just a declaration. The kid is home. It's a command punched into the biological computer. Because at that level, time is of the essence, stakes are very, very high, and there's very little information. So it's just a mental command. The kid is home. And then I don't go on site. It's all done remotely for me. And I'll get images in my head. I'll go do the dishes. I'll walk my dog. I don't sit there on a pillow and meditate. I give it the command, show me the kid, and then I go about my day. And then images will start to play in my head, like the images that you got with your son at Coachella.
Yeah.
It starts to play like a picture in my head, and it just comes, boop, it just little pops of information. And I write that information down. I have no attachment. I edit nothing because it might not make sense to me.
Right.
But it'll make sense to the police officers or to the parents of the kid. And there may be images like in one case, there was a Ferris wheel behind a barn. And I'm like, that makes no sense. But Ferris wheel behind a barn, it was a white barn and the Ferris wheel was blue. And so I was seeing all these pictures and I'm writing all these things down. And then I gave it to the cops and the cops are like, well, the Ferris wheel, and there was a country fair or something. Something was going on, and there's like, well, the only Ferris wheel in our neighborhood is la 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 la. So let's go look there. And sure enough, that's where they found the
Oh,
kid.
wow.
So, but that information would have made no sense to me,
Right.
but it made sense to the people who came to me for assistance.
Just like the aliens didn't make sense to me, or the feeling, knowing the feeling of alien. I didn't see pictures. It was a feeling of alien. And if that makes any sense, I've never felt alien before, but it felt alien. But yeah, that is so very interesting. This is so helpful, Simone. You are, it's shocking to me to hear that you can break it down like this and actually teach law enforcement and have them go out and then help solve cases on their own, using their own intuition and teaching them how to do that. I think every single one of us could use this kind of training.
Especially now. Now, because there's so much information out there, so much data, so much content. It used to be a 24-hour news cycle, and now I think it's a 24-minute news cycle. News is rebooting, data is rebooting. There's so many experts and authorities. You listen to one expert about how to build your business, and then you listen to another one, and they're both telling you completely opposite things. And you're like, I have no idea what to do. Okay, then tune as much of that out as you possibly can and go in here. Shape your targets. Your intuition is going to guide you in what way is correct for you so that you can set your own personal trends instead of following other people's trends. Because listen, what might work for some other guru out there in business might not work for you. It's just not a good fit. And so then you're listening to all of these competing experts out there and authorities out there, and they're all telling you to do different things. And so you're frozen. You can't, you don't know what to do.
I can relate as an entrepreneur. Absolutely.
Holy moly.
Yeah.
And as entrepreneurs, this is why I like being an entrepreneur and have been one since I was 9 years old. That's when I started my first business.
Oh, wow.
Was that I don't like people telling me what to do.
I agree.
And
I'm the same. Me too.
Yes. Like anybody else out there in the audience relate to that. And secondary to that, I don't like telling people what to do. As an intuition coach, I'm teaching you how to listen to yourself. I'm not going to tell you how to build your business. I'm going to tell you how to tap into what you want for your business and what your business wants from you, and then you follow that intuitive pathway. I really don't like telling people what to do because I don't like it when people tell me what to do. So I'm just like...
Well, and the truth is, we know what's best for us. We have that information inside of us. It's just about tapping into that.
Yeah. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So is that what you help entrepreneurs with as well, is just tapping into the right direction for them as entrepreneurs, among, I'm sure, many other things, right? How am I going to achieve this goal? And
how do I align with that? Well, I mean, the thing that moved me from law enforcement into entrepreneur. So I've been an entrepreneur since I was little. I've been intuitive since I was little. So there's this kind of wonderful merging that's coming together now that I work with entrepreneurs. But the tipping point, kind of like with you and your job when you knew it was time to leave, was one day I got a call from a police department that I had worked with before, and they said, "Simone, we found a leg. Can you help us find the rest of the body?" And I'm like, guys, I love you, but I'm done. Like, no, I can't do this for you. There are other intuitives out there who love this kind of stuff. I'm not that. Yeah. I'm not your girl. And so I was just like, I just want to focus on entrepreneurs and help them build things that are delightful. The thought of finding body parts was not my idea of a good time.
I can understand that. Pretty morbid. Yeah.
Very morbid. And then how you have, and then the information that would come that's associated with that.
Oh yeah. Like, dark, I'm sure.
No, thank you. No, thank you. So
worst of the worst.
Oh my heavens. Like, the dregs of society. But look at this is what I like to tell entrepreneurs. Look at the most potent, successful, paradigm-changing entrepreneurs of our time. Steve Jobs, Richard Branson, Warren Buffett, Martha Stewart, the lady, Sarah Blakey, the gal who started Spanx.
Oh, Blakely. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
those were all entrepreneurs driven by their intuition.
Yeah.
Sarah in the Spanx story, and she filled a need that she needed for herself, and she followed her intuition to build that brand.
She did.
And one of my personal favorite entrepreneurs is Ralph Lauren, and he built that brand based on intuition, and everybody was telling him it would never work. Everybody was telling Steve Jobs it would never work. So an entrepreneur does not like being told what to do. They get the vision, they get the intuitive impulse, and they say, I don't know how I'm going to get from A to B, but I know the B exists, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to get there. And so I help entrepreneurs shape the framework that helps them get really precise. And then we can close, if you'd like, Jenna, with the accuracy triad.
I would love that. So is this the exercise you're going to walk us through for how to do this?
It's a bit of a sensing, it's a bit of a feeling exercise. So
okay,
some of the times that when we're playing with our intuition, we're like, I don't even know if this is accurate. And so so we'll be hesitant to follow it. Like,
yeah,
but this is what I say. Okay, if intuition, when it's really flowing, will follow another 3 parameters.
Okay.
Just like before with targets, we had time, ideas, and money. And then the foundation was peace, precision, perception. Now we've got another triad. This is the accuracy triad, and it's rooted in elegance, efficiency, and expansion. So when your intuition is guiding you, it's going to be elegant. It's going to be very simple. It's going to be very clear. There's not going to be a lot of bells and whistles. It's just going to be turn left, turn right. Right? It's complete in its simplicity, right? It's not complex. It's not complicated. Elegance. So I want you to feel into the energy of elegance. When something feels elegant to you, feel that.
Yeah, it is a feeling.
It has a feeling, doesn't it? There's a resonance to elegance.
Mm.
So that's why I like Ralph Lauren, because his designs are so profoundly elegant. They're beautiful, and there's nothing extra about them. They're just so complete. Him and Giorgio Armani are my models for elegance.
I love that.
Yes. So elegance, feel into that. The second one is efficiency. Intuition is efficient. It's not going to cost you energy. It's going to allow you to do a lot of things without huge, you're not going to burn energy. It's not going to cost you energy. So I want you to feel into the energy of efficiency.
Yeah, it feels fast. It feels like pulsating almost, like not like a steady, it feels just like a blip almost. Is that?
It'll feel to you how it feels to you. For me, efficiency feels very clean. Mm-hmm. It's like, for me, it's just like an archer going, boom. It's just straight, boom.
Straight rubber band, flick. Like, that's what I feel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's efficiency. Okay. And even when I say that again, I get goose pimples on my skin, right?
Love that.
It's just clean. It's clean. And then the third one is the one that's sort of most challenging for entrepreneurs, and it's expansion. Now, when intuition is going to guide you to expansion, it's going to guide you to grow. It's going to guide you to innovate. It's going to guide you maybe to quit a job that you know you don't belong at anymore. And the expansion part of this equation is oftentimes where entrepreneurs will get freaked out because they're like, ooh, I've got to do this thing and it's going to scare me. And so the misconception is, well, if it's intuition, it's just going to feel like yes and la and no. When it's guiding you to innovation, it's going to ask you to expand. So
that is always scary. I feel like it's always scary to expand beyond the known, beyond your comfort zone. Yep. Fear will always arise. There's a book somebody turned me on to, Judy Holler, actually. She's a speaker and she's a brilliant brand maker and speaker. And she turned me on to the war of art. And that is all, it speaks to the fear that always arises. It's about how you face the fear. So I'm glad
Yes.
you're bringing this up. So expansion, that's really interesting to think about in the context of fear. Okay. So
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I
No,
cut
that's
you off
okay.
right in the middle.
No. So right. So then your intuition right there is putting pieces of the puzzle together, going, yeah,
Hmm.
it's been validated over here. Now Simone is validating it over here. So this is nothing new. All I'm doing it is putting it into a formula so that you can go, okay, does the choice feel elegant? When you quit your job and you walked out that day, that was elegant. You're like, done, bye, no
Yeah.
bells, no whistles, no drama. You
Yeah.
didn't throw a fit. You just walked out.
Yeah.
Elegant. It was efficient. You weren't, there was no wheel spinning. There was no like, I'm going to sue and la la la. You just done. It was efficient.
Right.
And in that
Yes.
moment, it was expansive. You're kind of like, holy crap, what did I just do? Oh, this is an expansion moment. Okay, trust it.
Hmm.
Trust it. So the expansion will always be where the fear comes in. But you can't innovate in a known. You can't set a trend in a known. You can't establish new levels of health, wealth, success, well-being in a known. You can't. And so that expansion element is essential. So if you're feeling the elegance and the efficiency, and then you're noticing the tweak of fear in the expansion, you go, okay, I'm right on track. Okay.
And that's the hardest part to break through. It's the hardest part to break through, especially when you're doing it on your own.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
And that is what holds people back. It holds me back often, especially when I'm in the massive state of expansion.
Yes.
Because it's the fear. It really is that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how do you have any? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'll finish this point up with this. Oftentimes when you're in the expansion mode, when stuff is evolving to new higher levels, the stuff that used to be elegant and the stuff that used to be efficient won't work anymore.
Oh my God, I can't believe you're saying that. I've noticed that. Yes.
Yes.
It's true.
Yep. Yep. So if you've used intuition to get you to $1 million brand and your target is now a $10 million brand, the stuff that used to be elegant and efficient to get you to the $1 million won't work to get you to the 10.
Wow. So true.
And what people will tend to do in that moment is they'll think, what am I doing wrong? It's not working anymore. How am I attracting this? No. You've set a different target. So the things that serve the $1 million target aren't going to work to get you to the $10 million target or the $100 million target. I worked with a client when he and I first started working together. He was doing $40 million a year. That's a pretty nice nut.
Yeah.
But his goal is to have $1 billion business. And I said, okay, we can definitely do that $1 billion business. And I said, but have to recognize that the structures that you use to build your $40 million business aren't going to serve your $1 billion business. So be prepared for those things to start to not work. He said, okay. So he and I worked together for about three years. And in that 3 years, we got him from 40 million to 200 million. And all of the systems that got him to 40 million, they all came apart.
Yeah.
And my job was just to keep him in the target, to find the new systems that would get him to 200 million and beyond. So realize that as you're building businesses or you're training, you're changing any kind of thing in your life, it might be a health situation that you're working intuitively with, that the stuff you used to do isn't going to work anymore, and to not freak out about it, to just be loyal to those targets. And then as the old stuff comes apart, continue to be focused on the target, and new systems will start to emerge.
That's so helpful. I had no idea this conversation was going to go here on an entrepreneurial level, but I'm so glad it did. I have personally learned so much from you today. And I can't even, it's just amazing to hear that you're working with CEOs of such large companies and able to help them through their own intuition, grow their businesses by leaps and bounds like this. I can only just imagine all the different ways in our life that intuition, our second brain, or as you call it, our first intelligence, can assist us so much more than our logical
Yeah.
brain.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
logical brain is limited by what it's been taught. The intuitive brain has no limit. The intuitive mind has no limit. It's not rooted in knowledge. It's rooted in wisdom. And when you can start to put that together, then your world changes in big ways.
Why would we not want to tap into this unlimited wisdom?
Boom.
It's just mind blowing to me. So you've reignited my passion for really tuning into my intuition, and I'm gonna go back and really break down what you have taught us today about these triangulations and see how I can implement them right away, because I feel like that is what is missing. Our logical brains can work so hard and toil away when we can do things so much more effortlessly, or more at ease, I guess.
More
When we
elegantly,
just
more
more
efficiently,
elegantly.
more
Yeah,
expansively.
I
It,
love it.
it shouldn't be toil. And then the joke becomes, at that level, then it's a no-brainer because you're not using your brain. You're
I
using
love
something
that.
else.
It's a no-brainer. You need to trademark that if you haven't already.
Intuition, it's a no-brainer. Thanks, Jenna.
Yes, you are welcome.
I like that.
All right, Simone. Well, you know what? I hate to have to wrap this up, but I am going to be cognizant of your time, and you've spent so much wonderful time with us today.
Great
Thank
fun.
you so much for gracing us with your presence and all
My
this
pleasure.
wonderful wisdom. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Jenna. Thanks for having me. Anytime you want, I can talk about this for always, always. So thank
Yay!
you. Yay.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Jenna.
Oh, goodness. Now, if I hit end right now, I'm afraid it's going to boot you off, but I just want to, I just tell you, I really, really appreciate that Runa connected us and for you having such a generous conversation with us today. I would have promoted your website. I used to do that, but in this season, what I'm doing is I'm complying with some of the rules, production standards for some of these larger platforms so that I can get more coverage. So this particular season, once I have my 8 episodes, they're all going to be in compliance and hopefully get onto Tubi and some of these other larger platforms. So that's why I didn't do that, but that's okay. I will definitely include all your contact information or your website and social handles in the show notes.
Okay.
So people can see that on YouTube, on Binge Networks TV, on my Powerful Women Plus channel, on my website, and all that good stuff.
Awesome.
But Simone, thank you so much.
You're welcome. This was fun. What a great conversation. Yeah, your intuition is a good power, is your good superpower. If it's showing up for you in that way. Yeah.
Yeah, and my intuition has led me here where I am today, which was like, I took a major risk quitting that 6-figure corporate job, but now I'm in this place where I took a much bigger gamble, followed my intuition to write my book, get into speaking and all these other things. But I feel like, right when I feel like I'm in the right direction and that things are teed up well, then I feel like, oh my gosh, what did I do? Did I make the right move? I took a lot of risks. I'm not sure what the next step is. And so I want to fall back on some old, tried and true things, but that doesn't feel right. It's,
Yeah. And your intuition is going to guide you moment by moment, just like the GPS in your car. It doesn't tell you what to do 6 months from now. It doesn't tell you what to do 2 weeks from now. It tells you what to do today.
Yeah.
And that kind of sometimes pisses me off. It's like, hello, I have a calendar. It's like, just today.
I know. That's all I get is today.
That's all I get.
True.
So
it's true.
Thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure. I'll keep you posted when this comes out. Should be like, depending on the editing schedule and all that, maybe like 2-3 weeks at the most. And I'll have some little shorts that I'll share with you, short clips and stuff. And thank you so much again. I hope that this will help get the word out about you and your book and all the lovely work you're doing. So just really appreciate your time today.
Well, I hope your audience got some good stuff and that you can use it too. That'd be great.
Oh, 100%. This has just been a wealth of information.
Awesome. Well, my pleasure, Jenna. Thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure. Have a great rest of your week.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.